Hey everyone, today we are going to be working on rasgueos. Rasgueos is a technique that we use in flamenco and some Spanish guitar. It's one of the primary techniques to give it that characteristic Spanish guitar sound. So let's get right to it. Okay, the first thing I'd like to talk about is that there's two schools of training in terms of the form you want to have with your basic rasgueo. The first one, your thumb is going to be anchored on the sixth string and it's going to be almost vertical, maybe with a little bit of a tilt, up to a 45-degree tilt possibly, but it's going to be more vertical. You are going to take your ring finger, your middle finger, and your index finger and just kind of lightly anchor them or just rest them right behind that thumb. So you got your three fingers, just rest them right there. You anchor that thumb, and then we'll get to the strum that we're about to talk about in a second. The second way, as far as form goes, is you want to take those same three fingers. Actually, that pinky will always be tagging along, even though we're not using it for now. And the thumb is going to be in more of a horizontal position. And we're going to take those fingers, put them towards the back of your hand, towards the palm. Lightly just rest them there, or just have them very closely touching. And it's going to look a little bit more something like this. So it's more of a natural playing position. The first rasgueo that I'd like to show you is one of the main ones that you'll see everyone using. Ring, middle, index, index back. So you anchor it. We're going to execute that third finger. Let that pinky come out with it, but keep those other ones up there. You're going to have that second finger. Then you're going to have the index finger. And then your index finger comes back up. But the interesting thing is that all the other fingers also have to come back up with it, so that they're ready to come right back down again. Now, the main things you want to remember when doing a rasgueo is the hand should try to be as stable as it can. When you flick each finger out, even if it's at a slow tempo, you want to make sure that they each flick out at a fast speed per finger. So you don't want to drag them. You want to get a fast flick. One sound per finger. So when the ring comes out, it's okay for the pinky to follow along, just the middle. Then you have the index come. And when the index comes back up, you want to make sure that all the fingers come back up with it so that it's back in place and ready to start up again. So let's try the first exercise. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with exercises, the primary purpose of exercises is to focus on a technique. You don't want to make both hands too complicated at first, especially if you're a beginner, because it doesn't allow you to really focus on one hand rather than freaking out about both hands. So to start off with the rasgueos, especially if you're a beginner, start off with something called tapado or seco. When you cover up the strings, just lightly cover up the strings and you get this dry sound. So we just want to make sure we have the technique down first before we add any chords. So let's try it. We're going to try it really slow. 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and. So the first two beats are doing the strum that we're working on. Beat 3 and 4 are just doing the index down and up as a way to break up the rhythm and also a way to break up your hand doing continuous rasgueos. Especially if we're new to this, it's a good little break. So that's going to be the first way we practice this exercise. Now, if you feel comfortable with that, next thing we're going to want to do is add some chords. The first two chords that we're going to be working with is A minor and E. So we have A minor and E. So get into position. I'm going to play it a little bit more of a moderate pace so you can hear it first, and then we can try it together. We have 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. go and try to play it along with me. So here we go. And 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and. Now lastly, I just want to give you a checklist of things you should look for when you're making sure that you're executing this correctly. So first things first, make sure you have good form, that you're anchoring on the 6th string, whether it be the vertical with the fingers behind or the more horizontal with the fingers towards the palm. Next thing, when you actually start executing, make sure each finger strikes through the strings, making one sound, not a slurred sound. So you want to make sure you get one sound, not a slurred sound. So at first you might get that, so don't be discouraged. It's going to take some time to clean that up. Don't freak out, give it some patience, but eventually it should come out as one. If you're having trouble with it, practice each finger individually. Just use it as a warm-up. I've had some students come in, they start getting really frustrated because they can't get through it. It takes them, they're a week and they're still having troubles with it. Even from the beginning, I tell them isolate each finger. So take your ring, just do it about 5 to 10 times. Take your middle, same thing. Just practice that quick spurt. Then your index, same thing coming up. Usually the index is the easiest one for everyone, so that one is the easiest one to adjust. Another thing to look for is don't move your hand too much. If you're moving your hand too much, that means you're not executing it the proper way. So this isn't an arm or shoulder movement. You want to try to keep that hand in place in a nice natural position, and what's doing the work is the knuckles and the fingers. So there's going to be a little bit of a natural hand motion, maybe a little bit of really light circular, but what you don't want to get is you don't want to be a large motion like that. So you want to try to keep it as minimal as possible. Moving on to the last part of this lesson is when you feel comfortable, we want to start trying out single beat rasgueos. So we would want to try them this way. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this concludes the first Rasgueo lesson. I hope to have up a couple more lessons with 2 other Rasgueos that I highly use and would love to show you guys. But besides that, I hope that this was informative. I hope that it helped. I hope that some of you were able to start chewing a little Spanish guitarra and flamenco techniques for the first time, and maybe you'll want to delve into it a little bit more. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave some comments, and I'd love to help out and post some more videos for you guys. Thank you.